Captain Taren Rhys, a seasoned space mercenary, had encountered all manners of danger in the galaxy, but nothing prepared him for the moment he awoke in a dimly lit alien chamber, disoriented and alone. The metallic scent of an unknown world filled his nostrils as he blinked against the bright green light overhead. As his senses returned, he found himself face to face with Zira'ka, a striking figure with 6 arms and shimmering silver skin. The queen of the Val'rith knelt before him, her expression a mix of desperation and fierce determination. "You're my last hope," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Save my son, and I'll give you the power to protect your people from the invasion that's coming." Captain Taren Rhys had long earned his reputation as a mercenary skilled at navigating the darker sides of the galaxy. His latest mission to dismantle a burgeoning weapons trade on the fringe of known space had brought him into a whirlwind of chaos. As he piloted his ship, the Falcon's Edge, toward the target location, a sudden tremor rocked the vessel. Alarms blared, and before he could react, a powerful force surged through the control panel, short-circuiting his systems. Darkness enveloped him as the ship spiraled into the depths of the cosmos. When he regained consciousness, he found himself in a dim chamber, adorned with strange symbols and pulsating lights. The air was thick with an unfamiliar energy that crackled around him. Panic surged through his veins, but Taren quickly quelled it, his instincts honed by years of survival. As he scanned the alien environment, he spotted Zira'ka standing before him, a magnificent but intimidating figure. Her silver skin glimmered in the low light, but her eyes were heavy with worry. Taren felt a knot of tension in his stomach. He had heard tales of the Val'rith, an alien race known for their telepathic abilities and ruthless prowess in battle. Few humans had survived encounters with them, and even fewer had returned to tell the tale. But as he stared into Zira'ka's eyes, he saw a different kind of strength. Beneath her regal facade was a vulnerability that spoke of a mother's love and desperation. "Captain Taren Rhys," Zira'ka intoned, her voice both melodic and commanding. "I am Zira'ka, Queen of the Val'rith. You have been brought here for a reason." Taren's heart raced as he struggled to comprehend the gravity of the situation. "Why me?" he asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "What do you want from me?" Zira'ka took a deep breath, her many arms trembling slightly as she clasped her hands together. "My son, the Val'rith prince, has been taken by a rival faction. They seek to dethrone me and claim power for themselves. They hide him in a dangerous region of the galaxy, a place no Val'rith can enter without suffering great harm. But you are different. Humans possess a unique genetic trait that resonates with my son's telepathic abilities. Only you can navigate the treacherous terrain to save him." Taren hesitated, his mind racing. He had always operated alone, driven by the thrill of the hunt and the adrenaline of battle. The thought of becoming embroiled in alien politics, or worse, a mother's quest to rescue her child, was daunting. Yet as Zira'ka's gaze bore into his, he felt an unexpected twinge of empathy. This was not just a quest for power. This was a mother's plea to save her son. He saw in her eyes not only the fear of losing her child, but also the fierce resolve of a leader who had dedicated her life to her people. "I'll do it," he said, surprising even himself. "But know this, my motives are my own. I want to help your son, but I will not become a pawn in your games." Zira'ka nodded, her expression solemn. "Your honesty is refreshing, Captain. I do not ask for your loyalty, only your courage. Together, we can change the fate of our worlds." Equipped with advanced Val'rith technology, Taren prepared for the mission of a lifetime. Zira'ka provided him with a ship that was a marvel of engineering, sleek, fast, and equipped with stealth capabilities beyond anything Taren had ever seen. As they launched into the cosmos, the Queen remained connected to him through their burgeoning telepathic link, guiding him through uncharted star systems and relaying vital information about the terrain ahead. The journey was fraught with peril. They navigated deadly space storms that churned with ferocity, their vessel buffeted by raging winds and gravitational shifts. Taren's heart raced as he piloted the ship through the chaos, relying on Zira'ka's steady presence to maintain focus. Each time he felt the ship falter, her voice resonated in his mind, calming him, urging him to trust in his abilities. "Speed up, Captain. There's an opening ahead," she urged, her urgency palpable. With a deft hand, Taren increased their velocity, the ship slipping through the storm as he heard the roars of the winds behind them. Each close call only heightened the connection he felt to Zira'ka. As they sailed through the star-studded abyss, he found himself sharing stories of his past, his regrets, and his solitary life as a mercenary. Zira'ka responded by sharing her own memories, tales of her childhood on Val'rith Prime, of blooming landscapes where colors danced and laughter echoed. She spoke of her son, the fierce joy he brought into her life, and the weight of responsibility that came with being a queen. Her words painted vivid images in Taren's mind, and he found himself captivated by her strength and resilience. This wasn't just a mission to rescue a child. It was a chance to understand a culture he had never imagined. As they continued their journey, Taren began to feel an undeniable shift within himself. The closer they got to the rogue faction's stronghold, the more he became aware of a stirring sense of responsibility. Zira'ka's heartfelt descriptions of her son's innocence and curiosity awakened something deep within him, a paternal instinct he had long suppressed. "His name is Kael," Zira'ka said one evening, as they navigated through a cluster of asteroids. "He is brave and curious, always exploring the world around him. He deserves to be safe, to know love and kindness." Taren clenched the ship's controls, the weight of her words sinking in. He had seen children in the colonies, had felt the pang of loneliness that accompanied his life of isolation. He had always thought of fatherhood as a distant concept, something for others, but now it felt achingly close. Protecting Kael became more than a mission. It transformed into a calling. Zira'ka's gentle laughter echoed in his mind. "You are beginning to understand. To be a protector is to embrace the bonds of love, to fight not just for yourself, but for another. You may find that this child needs you as much as you need him." Taren couldn't shake the warmth of her words. The thought of becoming a father, of being someone's protector, suddenly didn't seem so frightening. Instead, it felt like an opportunity to find redemption for the life he had led, a chance to become more than just a mercenary, lost in the void of space. As Taren approached the rogue faction's stronghold, a massive fortress nestled within a dark asteroid belt, he felt a surge of adrenaline course through him. The fortress loomed ahead, imposing and foreboding, guarded by drones and advanced security systems that thrummed with a lethal energy. He steeled himself for the battle ahead, acutely aware of the stakes involved. With Zira'ka's guidance, he maneuvered the ship into a concealed docking bay, the door sliding shut behind them with a heavy thud. Stepping out, he took a deep breath, feeling the tension settle in his muscles. Armed with a stealth suit and an array of gadgets, Taren entered the fortress, every instinct on high alert. The interior was a labyrinth of cold metal and eerie silence, broken only by the hum of machinery and the distant sounds of guards patrolling. Taren navigated through the shadows, evading detection, his heart pounding with every footfall. He remembered Zira'ka's words about the location of the prince, a high-security containment area known as the Sanctum. But as he neared his destination, the alarms blared to life. The facility was on high alert, and Taren's pulse quickened. The guards, Val'rith enforcers fiercely loyal to the rogue faction, swarmed around him, armed with weapons that crackled with energy. Drawing on his combat skills, Taren fought back, moving with a fluid grace born of years of training. He ducked, rolled, and countered their attacks with precision, but the numbers were overwhelming. Just when it seemed he might be overwhelmed, he felt Zira'ka's telepathic presence surge through him, bolstering his resolve. "You must press on, Taren. Your son needs you," she urged, her voice echoing in his mind like a battle cry. With renewed determination, Taren pushed forward, using every ounce of strength and skill he possessed. He reached the sanctum, where Kael was held, just as the guards closed in. When Taren burst through the doors of the sanctum, his heart soared at the sight of Kael, a small figure huddled in the corner of the cell. The boy looked up, fear evident in his wide, innocent eyes. In that moment, a primal instinct kicked in, and Taren rushed forward, kneeling before him. "Kael," Taren called, his voice firm yet gentle. The boy stared at him, recognition flickering in his gaze as Taren reached out a hand. "I'm here to save you. Your mother sent me." Kael hesitated, but then jumped into Taren's arms, clinging to him as though he were a lifeline. "I was so scared," he whispered, his voice trembling. Taren felt the boy's small frame quaking against him, and an overwhelming sense of protectiveness washed over him. "Don't worry, I've got you now," Taren reassured him, his heart swelling. Through their telepathic connection, he felt Kael's trust, his hopes and fears flooding his mind. In that moment, Taren understood what Zira'ka had meant about embracing the bonds of love. He was no longer just a mercenary. He was a protector, a father in every sense of the word. With Kael in his arms, Taren turned to escape, but the guards burst into the room, weapons raised and ready to fire. Taren's instincts kicked in, and he quickly scanned the room, searching for an escape route. Zira'ka's voice filled his mind, guiding him through the chaos. "There! Use the service tunnel to your left." Taren didn't hesitate. He sprinted toward the opening she had pointed out, his heart racing as the guards fired behind them. With Kael clinging tightly to him, Taren launched himself into the narrow passage, ducking and weaving through obstacles, adrenaline propelling him forward. With the rogue faction's forces hot on their heels, Taren could hear the shouts of the guards and the whirring of drones as they pursued. The narrow service tunnel twisted and turned, offering little room for error. Each step felt like a race against time as he navigated the labyrinthine pathways, his heart pounding in sync with Kael's fear-laden breaths. "Faster, Taren, they're coming," Kael urged, his voice laced with urgency. "I know. Just hold on tight," Taren replied, determination hardening in his chest. They could hear the distant thud of boots behind them, the low hum of energy weapons charging. Just as they reached the exit, a barrage of blaster fire erupted behind them, the air filled with the sizzling sound of energy beams. Taren burst through the door into a large hangar bay, scanning for a way out. His eyes fell on a Val'rith transport ship, its sleek form gleaming in the low light. He sprinted toward it, urging Kael to keep up, adrenaline surging through his veins. With seconds to spare, they reached the ship, and Taren quickly punched in the access codes Zira'ka had provided. The door slid open, and he ushered Kael inside before diving in after him, sealing the hatch just as the guards entered the hangar. Taren fired up the ship's engines, his fingers flying across the controls as he plotted their escape route. The ship shuddered to life, and he felt Kael's small hands grip his arm, a mix of fear and hope. "Are we going to be okay?" Kael asked, wide-eyed and trembling. "Trust me," Taren replied, his voice steady. "We're going to make it." As they shot out of the hangar, the alarms blared throughout the fortress, and Taren felt the pressure of pursuit weighing heavily on him. The rogue faction's ships were already in the air, and he could see them lining up for an attack. "Zira'ka, we need backup," Taren called out, desperation tinging his voice. A moment later, Zira'ka's presence surged in his mind, strong and reassuring. "I'm on my way, Taren. Hold tight." With a flurry of blaster fire raining down on them, Taren skillfully piloted the ship through the asteroid belt, dodging enemy fire with precision. The transport ship whirled and dipped, narrowly escaping several energy blasts. Taren's heart raced, adrenaline fueling his focus as he pushed the ship to its limits. Just when it seemed like they would be overwhelmed, Zira'ka's fleet of Val'rith ships appeared on the horizon, a brilliant array of light cutting through the darkness of space. They swooped in, their sleek forms gliding effortlessly among the enemy ships, returning fire with impressive force. "Now, Taren, we can break through," Zira'ka urged. Taren seized the opportunity, navigating through the chaos, and with a daring move, he shot straight toward the opening Zira'ka had created. The Val'rith ships fought fiercely, holding off the attackers as Taren sped away, Kael beside him, wide-eyed and breathless. As they escaped the chaos of battle, Taren felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion wash over him. They had done it. They had saved Kael. But as he turned to look at the boy, he felt a pang of sadness in his heart. Zira'ka had promised him power, but it came with a heavy price. He could sense her weakening connection to him, a faint pulse in the back of his mind that began to fade. "Zira'ka?" he called out, anxiety creeping into his voice. "Are you okay?" "I am fading, Taren," she admitted, her voice now fragile and strained. "The energy required to connect with you and guide you has taken its toll. I knew this might happen, but I couldn't bear to let my son be lost to the darkness." Taren felt a surge of panic. "No, you can't leave us," he protested, desperation coloring his tone. "You're his mother. He needs you. I have given you my royal seal, Taren, she said softly, her voice trembling with emotion. You are now bound to my son. Protect him as I would have, and ensure that my vision for peace lives on. Taren's heart ached at the thought of losing her, of the bond they had forged in their shared struggles. Please, Zira'ka, we can find a way to save you, he pleaded, but her laughter was soft, bittersweet. My time is done, Taren, but my spirit will always be with you. Teach Kael the values of love, unity, and strength. You will be a better father than I could have ever hoped for. Tears pricked Taren's eyes as he felt Zira'ka's presence slowly begin to dissolve, her essence merging with the starlight surrounding them. I promise, he whispered, overwhelmed by grief yet fortified by purpose. As Zira'ka's essence faded, Taren felt the weight of her sacrifice press heavily on his heart. He turned to Kael, who watched with wide, innocent eyes, still clutching tightly to Taren's side. She's gone, isn't she? Kael said, his voice small and trembling. Yes, Taren replied, kneeling down to meet the boy's gaze. But she will always be with us, guiding us. We must honor her memory by working toward her dream of peace. Taren reached for the royal seal Zira'ka had passed to him, the weight of its significance settling in his chest. This symbol was more than just an emblem of power. It was a promise to Kael, to Zira'ka, and to the universe. Taren had never imagined he would take on such responsibility, but in that moment, he felt ready. From now on, I'll be your father, Taren vowed, looking into Kael's eyes. Together, we will carry on her legacy and fight for a future where our peoples can coexist. Kael's small face lit up with a mixture of hope and determination. Can we be heroes like her? He asked, his voice tinged with awe. Taren smiled, the warmth of Kael's trust filling the void left by Zira'ka. Yes, we will be heroes, and we'll do it together. Months passed as Taren and Kael forged a new life together. They traveled across the galaxy, a duo of unexpected allies, each day bringing them closer. Taren found himself teaching Kael about the vastness of space, then sharing stories of adventures and struggles, and instilling values of bravery and compassion. In return, Kael taught Taren about love, laughter, and the beauty of connection. Together, they became a force for change in the galaxy. As word spread of Zira'ka's sacrifice and Taren's commitment to unite their peoples, a new hope blossomed among the factions of the Val'rith and humans alike. They became advocates for peace, forging alliances, and working tirelessly to bridge the divide between their worlds. Taren had embraced the role of father, and with it came a newfound purpose that illuminated even the darkest corners of space. He found joy in watching Kael grow, learning about his heritage and discovering the extraordinary abilities he inherited from his mother. Though Zira'ka was gone, her legacy lived on through Taren and Kael. The bond they formed was unbreakable, and together they carried the torch of hope, lighting the way for a future that honored love, unity, and the promise of new beginnings.